Hey guys, what's up? I got everybody here from TMI. Don't forget to write us an email at tmipodcast2018. That's tmipodcast2018 at gmail.com. Let us know how we're doing. Also, check us out on Twitter.
Follow us on Twitter at TMI_podcast 2018. Just use the numbers, don't spell it out.
Ooh, don't forget Facebook.com/TMI podcast 2018.
Follow us on the Apple Podcast app. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review.
All you YouTubers out there, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, TMI Podcast 2018. Look for the popcorn bucket.
That's right. Also, check us out on Spotify and the Google Play Music app for all you Android users. Follow us and subscribe everywhere. We appreciate it. We're doing it for you guys, the fans. Thank you.
The moment our fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Dave Odinson Warhowski, Jeff Nerfherder Chandler, Jim Kaiju Baker, and Mike Mjolnir Evans. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
Ooh, it's the start of Halloween season.
Oh, you scared me. I was scared there.
Happy October, guys.
Yeah.
October already. Wait,
Yeah.
Who's that voice? What?
Who's that voice? Wait.
What?
I heard somebody else, and it's not Mike.
Who is it?
Is that
Thanks for having me back.
one of our forefathers of TMI, David Warhowski?
Forefather.
The prodigal son has returned.
Odin's son has come back.
Odin's son,
David's
yes.
son.
David has
Yeah,
returned.
been caught up with moving and having a kid and growing up, I guess,
Yeah.
if you will.
Let me know how that goes,
Yeah.
because I'm still in the process of
Right.
that.
And share your son's first name with the audience.
Xander.
Xander.
Xander with an X.
Yeah, the Zand Man. I think that you should play that Metallica song every time he enters a room. Like,
The Zand
yeah.
So people will probably mispronounce it his entire life. They'll be calling him Xander.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Just like Craig-
how people, Xavier.
Xavier,
Xavier.
right.
Yeah.
Not Xavier.
I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
And this kid is like screwed, like if he gets picked for an alphabetical order by first name or last
Oh,
name.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
When he graduates, oh, no, I was going to say, it goes, well, either way, yeah. You're going to get
Yeah.
screwed when it comes to graduation. You're going to be sitting
yeah.
at the
Yeah, imagine him at roll call at the start of every school.
Last but not least.
The teacher putting her
Right.
glasses on. Is this Xander? Xander, how do you pronounce your name, son?
Sorry, buddy.
Thanks, Dad.
But yeah, so I'm happy to be back here and chat up with some movies and
Yeah, man.
and
Miss
all
out
that.
on you. We miss you.
Yeah.
We're holding
Thank
the
you.
fort. We're holding down the
Yeah.
fort the whole time here.
We
People
are.
keep listening,
makes
so
sense.
I don't know what we're doing here.
So,
There you
so
go.
we've started a tradition here where we're kind of introducing ourselves in the beginning, because Jeff seems to think that people don't know who we are.
Hey, if you're just randomly picking an episode that, it could be a little confusing.
So this is Jim.
I'm Jeff.
Hello, this is Mike.
And hello again, this is Dave.
There you
And
go.
you're listening to TMI.
Woo.
So half of our team here attended New York City Comic Con, and Jeff is actually going back today because we're recording on Sunday here. But Mike and Jeff, do you have any notes from Comic Con?
We had some fun. There's a lot going on, I'll tell you that. I do have some news, but I'll let Mike share any kind of fun stuff he's experienced.
Totally enjoyed it. I mean, we kicked it off with a Game of Thrones concert on Thursday, which was awesome. Moved right into Comic-Con on, that was Wednesday night, and then moved into Comic-Con on Thursday. Saw a Kirkman panel. He talked Walking Dead, the Invincible series and movie, as well as the end of his comic run on Outcast. took a show, watched Neil deGrasse Tyson, which was really interesting.
That's cool.
Kind of a play on physics where it was Doctor Who time travel, Ant-Man shrinking, is it possible? And Stranger Things, the upside down, is a multi-universe possible? So really interesting. You had some sort of physics students out in the audience who were challenging everything that they were saying. So
not just nerds, right?
Was this a 24-hour presentation? It seemed like they were going through the whole span of space and matter.
Yeah, it could have kept going on. So it was just a wild ride, but it was a lot of fun. He had a world-class physicist up on the dais with him, so it was a lot of fun. And then, as you start to walk the show floor, it just gets exhausting. So I took a break on Friday and saw the Runaways panel, and they showed the first episode of season 2.
Cool.
And then met up with Jeff.
Yes, we had a private little screening. We had an advanced screening of the new Drew Goddard movie, Bad Times at the El Royale, followed by a Q&A with cast members. We can't talk about it, NDAs and all, but...
Was Mr. Chris Hemsworth there?
Mr. Hemsworth was not there, but I was well prepared with questions concerning our show. We had the director, Drew Goddard, was there. We had one of the actresses, she was like 17, but I think she looked like she was about 12 when she made this movie. Kaylee, oh man, I'm going to draw a blank on her last name. And then we had John Hamm, who was absolutely hysterical. He was very funny. He was very entertaining. And I think Mike and I walked out of there both agreeing that it was a well put together movie, and I think we're going to be talking about that in 2 weeks.
Next week. I think next
week.
week.
It is next week.
It's out on the 12th.
The 12th. It is being released on the 12th. You're correct.
Okay. So we next week's movie.
Yeah. So we were one of the few who actually got to see it in advance. So notes were taken.
Awesome.
I did share a little video on our Facebook page of the Q&A just to kind of whet everybody's appetite. So yeah, that was pretty cool. That was awesome.
So do we have any news? Any honest to goodness news?
We do have some news. There's a couple things that are coming out of New York Comic Con as we speak. Today is actually the last day, so I don't know if there's any more surprises, panels. A lot of this stuff kind of rears its head on Saturdays. You mentioned Stranger Things before, and supposedly, is anybody aware that there's a new Hellboy movie on its way out?
Yes, I was aware of that.
Well, I guess they showed footage and most of the attendees lost their freaking minds, but he's being played by David Harbour, who we know as Hopper from Stranger Things.
Really?
Interesting.
I saw a photo of the new Hellboy, and he looks like Arnold. He's built.
Well, I think that's all. I think that's full prosthetics. Okay. That's a full body prosthetic. I think even Perlman. There's no way.
There's no way Perlman was that big.
Right. But yeah, it looks pretty impressive. And from the feedback so far, just on the trailer, it looks like it could be some pretty badass stuff. A little more punkish than the original. We got that. Chris Evans announced on Twitter that he has officially wrapped Avengers 4, and then thusly thanked everybody for his 8 years of work as Captain America. So I'm led to believe that he's officially done.
That he's done.
I would like it. I'm surprised that they kind of let him put that out there. So now you got to speculate as Captain America. I mean, I guess we all knew this was coming. Their contracts are all up. This is the big finale hurrah for a lot of these guys. But it's sad. I think of all the embodiments of these characters that have translated to Marvel Comic Universe, he's my favorite. I absolutely loved him as Captain America.
I would agree. We're going to miss you, Cap.
Yes. And once again, Winter Soldier was on TV the other day, and I had to stop and watch it.
Same here.
My number one.
Still mine as well. Yeah. Who would have thought that after just seeing him, as the Human Torch in that terrible duo of Fantastic Four movies?
Well, we accepted it because it was about the only Marvel stuff we had going on. So you're like, all right, it's a Fantastic Four. So, but yeah, it's great how we kind of translated and talked last week about Kathleen Kennedy staying on Lucasfilm, and we were like, outside of episode 9, there's really nothing. Well, Jon Favreau's live action show, they dropped the name and their first screen grab from the show, and it is called The Mandalorian. Now, does anybody know what a Mandalorian is?
Is that a time-traveling 80s vehicle that's got Marty McFly on the
Mandalorian? No, not the DeLorean. Well, Boba Fett's armor was a Mandalorian armor. And if you follow Clone Wars, Sabine is a Mandalorian, and they play pretty big. So anyways, it's going to be kind of set after Return of the Jedi into The Force Awakens. And it looks like it could be Western-y, but this guy's got full-on Boba Fett armor, but it is not Boba Fett. They have not revealed who the actual character is, but it looks pretty promising. And they have a huge list of potential directors for these episodes. That looks like it could be. And of course, are any of us going to watch it because it's now going to be on the Disney streaming service? One more paying service.
Well, Jeff and I were talking about we should all just buy one service and share it.
I like it.
So I'm pretty sure Mike shares all of his stuff already.
So we'll just all go to Mike's house once a week. Of course, now we got Disney lawyers like listening intently to our conversation, going, "Hold on, they found a loophole."
Oops, sorry.
Yeah.
Walking Dead, we all know that Andrew Lincoln is walking away at the end of the season, but they've announced that there's a couple people from the show that are coming back, including Herschel, which I'm assuming since he died was all going to be in flashbacks.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
Gotta be.
So here's the sad thing.
Hold on. But real quick, now that we're talking about it, did you know that he actually passed away?
That's what I was leading into, which was this was announced Saturday's panel, and then hours later, Scott Wilson died. So he's officially dead as a person in real life, not just on the show. So sad, but yeah, also kind of ironic, I guess, that they're gonna bring him back only to have him die. Kind of weird.
Well, maybe he died of gangrene.
Maybe it was the head separating from the body is always a telltale sign as well. That's all the news I have. But Mike and I need to step up as adults and send out a mea culpa to Elise Beasley, who we missed. Last week, we identified her as Didi Khan, and Jim was adamant that we were wrong. And lo and behold, we were wrong. Elise Beasley.
I knew it.
I know. I looked it up and I'm like, son of a. So Agnes from Moonlighting, I think she's been on a bunch of other shows over the years, but not Didi Khan. So we apologize.
Isn't Shane supposed to come back as a flashback as well?
There was a couple other names. I think even, what's her name? Sensqua Green, who's now on Star Trek Discovery.
It sounds like they're planning a "This Is Your Life" type episode.
Maybe as Rick goes out, he flashbacks to all of the people that went before him. I guess I don't know. I don't think they're going to kill him off, but it had to be pretty compelling for him to walk away from this group that he's fostered and protected all this time.
Right. And according to the Entertainment Weekly interview that he did in the last issue, he is coming back to shadow some directors and maybe direct an episode himself. Yeah. So he's not leaving altogether. He's going to be back on the set for the end of the season after he's no longer appearing on the show. So who knows? Yeah, we could get cameos if his character doesn't end up dying, which we don't know yet.
Speculation, let it begin.
Speculation. So there was a lot of speculation about our feature movie before we went to go see it, and now we can put those rumors to rest.
And there's a lot of rumors out there. Yeah. I don't know. If you're reading reviews, oh boy.
This is Venom. I think maybe I had the most reservations going into this just because it was obvious from the trailers that there was no Spider-Man involved, which was really an affront to me because the Venom character is so
intertwined.
Yeah. Venom can't exist without Spider-Man in the comics.
Yeah. And they're both owned by Sony. Should have happened.
It should have happened. But, I do see the backstory of the symbiote in the comics is very convoluted and very hard to bring to the screen. Spider-Man, Peter Parker, picked it up on the Secret Wars planet, which was, we thought maybe it was at the time just a costume or something that the Beyonder created out of nothing. But it turns out it was its own entity. But how do you say that in a movie? It's like this whole other, you have to do a Secret Wars movie to set up Venom, which is impossible. Right. So the next best thing is that they figured at the time in 2007 with Spider-Man 3, just have it come down on a meteor, like the Blob.
There you go. Yes.
Again, this week, we have two very like-minded features, but that was really kind of hokey to me. Just have a meteor come down right next to Peter Parker in Central Park as he's sitting there with Mary Jane. Yeah. So I think the setup for this one is a little bit more believable. I
was actually very happy that they went with the alien origin and it wasn't some cooked up in a lab kind of a thing. Yeah, the origin's still just as muddled and convoluted as the comic version, just in different ways.
So what we've got here, we'll give you the basic setup of the plot, and then we'll get into, is it good or not?
Spoilers.
Spoilers, yeah.
Spoiler.
We've got a character by the name of Carlton Drake, played by Riz Ahmed.
From Rogue One.
From Rogue One, yeah. So I wasn't sure if he could pull off a bad guy, but he does so admirably here.
Oh, he twirls his mustache numerous times throughout this.
He is sending out a space expedition.
Right, because the Life Foundation is what so they're looking for ways to save humanity.
And they pick up four symbiotes that they find on a comet. So
they just happen to buy a comet. Hey, let's land there and go check it out.
Yeah, it's no problem landing on a comet.
Right, correct, right.
The spaceship crashes as it's coming back through the atmosphere, and one of the symbiotes escapes, and the other three make it back to the Life Foundation's laboratories to be tested out by Carlton Drake. And that's basically the setup. These symbiotes need to have a perfect match in order to bond with another being.
Which just...
One of them, the one that does not actually make it to the lab, is kind of a body jumper type of a symbiote, and it's trying to make its way back to its three brethren that are in the Life Foundation. So that's the basic setup. You've got Eddie Brock, played by Tom Hardy, controversially by Tom Hardy.
I liked him.
With the biggest Bazooka Joe palooka accent that you could muster.
But I think that feeds into the Eddie Brock character. I've always, especially when Todd McFarlane took over that book, he was kind of a bit of a dunderhead.
The guy you work for is an evil person. I told you I'm going to do my job.
Like, he wasn't a brain surgeon by any means.
Right. But so how can this guy be a reporter?
Well, he botches that. He loses his freaking job in like the first 10 minutes.
But no, notwithstanding the sloth from the Goonies kind of characterization that Tom Hardy brings to Eddie Brock. Just looking at the comics, the guy is Eddie Brock in the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man issues is a huge guy.
Yeah,
like,
he looks like a linebacker.
He looks like a linebacker. It's like, this guy's a reporter. I never bought that character. I never bought the Eddie Brock character as Todd McFarlane envisioned him. Like, this is a reporter? A broken boxer's nose, cauliflower ears, and he's like 5 times the size of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
So you're taking offense to the fact that he's a writer?
I am.
Jim's an affront to his
You see where this is going now.
Jim's taking this whole thing personal at this point.
I'm back in high school at this point.
I don't give it. I truly believe in the Venom symbiote, but I'm not buying the fact that he's a reporter.
Yeah. No.
That's where I draw the line.
So let's get back to the movie. Tom Hardy's accent, notwithstanding, I felt like he should be saying,
"Hey, how you doing?"
Every other line.
He belonged in New York, to be honest with you. He did not belong in LA.
In San Francisco,
San Francisco, California. Yeah.
But as I'm watching the movie, after his first few lines of dialogue, that kind of slipped away, and I got into it. And by the end of Venom, I was loving it. I love this movie, and I could not believe that I did.
That's funny, because I actually enjoyed myself the first third. I was engaged. I liked him because he, like you said, he's likable, but he's an a-hole, and he loses his job. He loses his girlfriend. But once they introduced Venom and that whole car chase scene, you know, there's something wrong with the movie when I start thinking about my grocery list that I need to take care of when I leave the theater during the chase scene. And I'm like, all right, they lost.
I will give you that. That chase scene was about 5 minutes too long. That was a really long chase scene.
Yeah, and there was nothing new. We didn't see anything new. And which is weird because Ruben Fleischer directed this, and he's directed Zombieland, which was so well done. And I think we all enjoyed that movie. And I don't know if there were just too many voices involved in this, and no pun intended. But once Venom starts talking to him, it just went off. And that was hard.
That's where I really got into it.
When Venom started into it, you were like, all right, well, I think the relationship. So last week when we talked about Sam Rockwell playing off himself, Hardy actually did Venom's voice. They just modulated the heck out of it.
I didn't know that until after.
I didn't know that either. When he's losing his mind, when he first gets infected with this symbiote, this parasite, as I keep referring to it, I loved it because he was just losing his mind. And there's a scene where he goes back to his ex-girlfriend in a restaurant, and he jumps, like you hear him, like, eat, I need to eat. And he jumps into the live lobster tank and starts eating the lobsters. I'm like, I'm loving this movie because it's just so out there. But then, once him and Venom really start working together, there's some weird things. And Venom looks...
Jeff, it's a buddy movie.
It is a buddy
movie.
It really is. I guess, if you want to look at it like that. I didn't like, Spawn, and that's exactly what it feels like. Spawn from like the 90s. Like, he's very plasticky looking. So that kind of takes me out a little bit. I don't know.
I thought I'd hate the costume. I mean, I thought I'd hate the version of Venom, but they kind of built up to it where he was like changing faces, MRI, and eyes bugging out, and then finally when Venom is like revealed in its full glory, I was like, I can dig this.
Yeah. How does he eat people's heads though when Brock is still inside him? Like there's points where his head just kind of like opens up and Brock is inside. So where does that head go?
I think that he ate the entire body of that guy at the end. There was nothing there when he left the shop. Yeah, where does that I don't know. How does he digest these human beings?
Well, don't think about any of that. Or the fact that, so they have this, I don't like the fact that they all had names for themselves. Oh, I'm Venom.
Like he was already Venom.
Like he was already Venom. And then the one who actually escaped from the shuttle, his name was Riot.
Yes.
So it was a long drawn out process in the lab where they realized that these symbiotes need the perfect host to merge with.
To survive, or they would die as well.
And it took numerous times before Venom actually found Brock and they had linked up. They were compatible. And yet Riot went from the astronaut to the EMT to the old lady to the little girl to the dog, and to the girlfriend with no problem whatsoever.
But you did get a sense that Riot was the alpha of these symbiotes.
Well, yeah. Did you get a laugh in your theater when Venom actually says out loud, "Oh, on my planet, I'm a loser too."
That was pretty funny. And when Venom says about Riot, he's got you've never seen.
Oh, I know, right? And then he basically shows it off, and he's like, "Oh, you're right."
So, but I was thinking, to get around that, obviously these beings don't know English, but when they merge, they know all the host's thoughts. So they learn English. They learn about the world. So Venom maybe plucked from Eddie Brock's subconscious about the closest word that he could find to fit whatever his real name is. Take it for what it is.
I like your moxie to try to work that through and actually give it some credence. Yeah,
I try.
And then there was some convoluted story about you didn't find us, we found you. And we had every intention of coming here and taking over this planet. But now I like you, so I'm going to save you. It was like you were on a comet. How the hell were you getting to Earth?
Yeah,
the comet.
You can control the comet. Only 360 million more light years to go. We'll be there shortly. Yeah. I thought it got resolved way too quickly, but whatever. Like you said, it's a buddy movie. I did enjoy it much more so. I mean, numerous times Ben and I turned and looked at each other and just what? It's just, but I guess you just kind of go with it. So at the end, they've now established that they're going to work together. They also set up the idea that the symbiote is killing the host, and over time his body will just disintegrate. So wouldn't Brock eventually die?
You would think so.
As long as you keep feeding him, I think, because
tater tots?
Venom eats the internal organs of the host, right? And as long as you keep feeding Venom, then
he doesn't need to eat your own organs,
internal organs. Yeah.
So he's like a giant goldfish.
And my question was, because Brock falls at one point, breaks his leg.
Oh, and he fixes him.
His heart is atrophying at some point, and then Venom fixes that too. If Venom leaves him, would he just go back to his broken state, or does Venom actually heal him? I don't know.
Jim, we're supposed to have the answers, not the questions.
You're supposed to. You put way too much thought into that one.
I was hoping you guys might pull through and give me.
No, because I don't have an answer for you on that one.
I would just like to bring up a little bit of history for Venom here. This is based on the Lethal Predator miniseries from 1993, the basic storyline. Obviously, we have no Spider-Man here, but that's what they were pulling this out of. They didn't just pull it out of the air, so it is based on the comic somewhat. 97 was the first time Venom was tossed around in Hollywood. It was attached to a Venom versus Carnage movie, which apparently we're going to get next. But in 97, Dolph Lundgren was set to play Venom. How would that have been?
That would have been interesting.
That would have been.
Did you get a Creed 2 trailer?
I did, yes. And I didn't realize that he was in Creed 2.
No, I know.
I saw that trailer.
Yeah, Drago's back. I'm like,
I must break you.
I might have to watch that.
Did you see the original Creed? Very good movie.
I have not seen it.
I suggest that you do.
Interesting. So go back to this Carnage, which I think is what everyone wanted, because he's always the most well-known other symbiote. I don't even know who this Riot is. I'm assuming that he was in that Lethal Protectors comic.
Yeah, I don't know if he's from the comics or not.
I don't know either. I just sold that first issue the other day at Comic-Con, but I don't think I ever read it.
But Carnage, I know. Carnage, I do know.
Right, and obviously the audience knows as well, because they saved him until the end credit where we get this little scene of Brock going up to a penitentiary, and he's going to interview this serial killer who turns out to be Sideshow Bob, because Woody Harrelson with a red wig.
And it was like Ronald McDonald.
No, it was like Carrot Top. It was
yes. I would have bought Carrot Top. Carrot Top is ripped. I would have liked it. Well, come on. And he just throws off, if I get out, there's going to be carnage. Ooh. Yeah. So on the nose, it's There's a phrase toward the end there where he's going to rip the guy's head off, and he says,
"We will eat both your arms and then both of your legs, and then we will eat your face right up your head. You will be this honest, legless, faceless thing, won't you? Rolling down the street like a turd in the wind."
I've seen that used numerous times to headline the reviews. It's just a turd in the wind.
Yes, let's talk about that. This movie is getting beaten up in the press really badly, to the point where a lot of people that I knew that were thinking of seeing this were not going to see it because of the bad reviews it's getting.
Correct. Yeah.
But I just like to say, make your own opinion on this stuff, because I really loved it. And I was really not even on the fence. I was against it going into this movie.
Me as well. I was mad at you that you were forcing us to watch this. I didn't want to go see it. I didn't want to waste any of my money. And I was hoping that I had a free ticket, but I was like points away.
I'll even go this far. I liked it substantially more than Ant-Man and Wasp.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm throwing that down.
Oh, wow.
Let me chime in here real quick. So, growing up, I was never a big fan of Venom, really at all, I guess, if you will. I mean, obviously, we've known about him, but Jim was just starting to talk about, and we could get back into that, is the Rotten Tomatoes review, which I thought was pretty hilarious. Says, because it got so rotten, I think it was like 30-something percent.
Yeah.
It says Venom turns out to be like the comic character in all the wrong ways, chaotic, noisy, and in desperate need of a stronger attachment to Spider-Man. I didn't see the movie. I feel like I could wait until it comes out on DVD or, to rent it.
Which is going to be really soon,
whatever.
I think.
Okay, right? So now, I have a question too, is Venom going to play in to the MCU universe? Are we going to see him in future other movies?
Very
Maybe
good
the next
question.
Spider-Man?
Could.
I've got a somewhat of an answer to that, because I was reading some interviews from the filmmakers on this, and that this is meant to take place in what they're calling Sony's Marvel universe. They're calling this adjunct world to the regular MCU, in which that it is in the same world, but it's got separate storylines, but it's meant to take place in the same reality. So what they are hoping to do is bring Spider-Man eventually into this franchise, into this Venom franchise, possibly with the next movie, which will also hopefully feature Woody again as Carnage.
If Spider-Man is listening to this broadcast, run away right now. Run.
That would be a great business look at it, is if they brought Spider-Man in there, because then people are going to want to see Spider-Man, obviously.
So then why didn't they do it from the beginning?
I don't know. Maybe they thought Venom was going to be more of a hit than it was.
Well, they obviously believed in it, but because that white spider is so synonymous with his look, to not have it. But they could very well bring him in later, second, even the third. I don't know. So Spider-Man 3. So do you think that this was better than Spider-Man 3? If you had to compare the two Venom movies?
I don't even think that's a question.
You just threw Ant-Man under the bus. So
I did. Spider-Man 3, I threw out the car window miles back.
Wow. I don't even know who you are anymore, Jim. I did enjoy it. It is, I don't think that the Rotten Tomatoes gives it enough credit, and you should see it. You should see it just for the sake of seeing it. It is kind of a throwback. Like I said, there was a lot of kind of old school Spawn feel I got at times. Not just the way he looked, but just the way the action was set up and filmed. And then you had an Eminem credit song, which made it feel even more dated.
That's what I was thinking. Is that Eminem?
I know, yeah. And you're like, wait. Yeah, it was.
So
I enjoyed it. Eyes, lungs, pancreas, so many snacks, so little time. I mean, how do you go wrong?
This is the biggest word now because it was all over The Predator. But at one point, they were in a building or whatever, and he tells Brock, he goes, jump. And then you just see him pressing the elevator button to go down. He goes, put.
So that was a question for me, is that earlier you understood that Venom could control Brock's body like a puppet.
Right, correct.
But later on in the movie, he doesn't. He's letting Brock make the decisions.
Yeah.
So, are they fusing such that Venom can no longer do that? Or
I think he's just coming to terms with the fact that I dig this guy and maybe we can work out a deal. Because he obviously can't live on our planet without a host. So why exert your energy jumping around trying to find another host? You found this guy, you kind of, you hit it off, you're roommates. Let's see how it goes.
And there might be a happy ending for Venom because, as we said, the Rotten Tomatoes score is very low, but Cinema Score, the audience score, is very high, 89% approval rate.
I think part of that is backlash. It's like we don't want critics to tell us not to go.
And it set a Friday night record for October. I think it made $32 million, which is a record for an October Friday night release, and it's projected to make $80 million its opening week.
I saw 70, so 80 is actually not
between 70 and 80. I think is what I saw. I'm just giving. I know I'm biased, so I'm giving it the higher number.
There you go.
But I think it's going to make back its money, and I think that they're going to do a sequel, undoubtedly.
I'm pretty sure that obviously they have high hopes to bring in Woody Harrelson for a 2-second cameo.
I read an interview with him as well that he was doing this blind. Like, he has no idea what the sequel is going to be. He's just got faith in the director who he worked with.
No, he's in every freaking franchise there is now. He's just like, I don't give a shit. Star Wars, yeah, I'll be in that. Planet of the Apes, yeah, I'll be in that. He doesn't care. He's Woody Harrelson. Zombieland 2, which I'm happy about, which is same director, Ruben Fleischer. Yeah, there you go.
Let's do popcorn buckets. What do we get? I
want to hear Jim's because the Jim is up there.
I'm giving Venom 3 3/4 popcorn buckets. Just shy of 4. I admit it's not a great movie, but I really enjoyed it. I'm giving it 3 3/4.
I'm going to go. My expectations were so low going into this, and maybe I was still coming off the Comic-Con high, but I'm going to give it 4. I mean, I really like it.
You're actually going higher than Jim.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm the skeptic. So, I mean, I really enjoyed Tom Hardy. He kind of carried this movie when it was in
absolutely carried this movie.
Ooh, I guess I'm the now. I didn't go for it.
Yes, you are. But, I mean, it was a hot mess, but enjoyable.
It's a fun, enjoyable hot mess. I can't go that high. But again, like you said, your expectations are so low that when you go in, you're like, all right, it's not as bad as they made it out to be. So I'll go 3.
With enthusiasm.
Yes. So Dave, have we convinced you? Are you going to go see it?
No.
Dave's time is very, very limited. Very precious.
That is true too.
Yes. You gotta be very judicial in your movie seeking. Was anybody slightly turned on by the female Venom when you took over Annie?
I was.
Yeah. That's like when Bugs Bunny dresses up in costume, right? You're kind of like, should I feel the way I'm feeling right now?
Was Venom getting some kind of sexual thrill?
Did you say Venny?
Venny? Yeah. I think maybe I was making him the female, the Venom.
Yeah, because she kisses him. And then he goes, what was that later? And she goes, oh, that was your friend. So he got some incestuous.
Yeah, and then Venom is saying to Eddie, like, ooh, I like her at the end. So, yeah.
That is some weird.
It is. So let's move on to our, well, first we need to get to our concessions. So let's go to the concession stand.
Oh, I need to eat now.
It's time to stretch and fetch. See what's cooking at our refreshment counter. You'll find your favorite foods and beverages, plus many new goodies to tempt your appetite and add to your evening's pleasure. Everything's the finest quality. So treat yourself now.
So we're back. So Dave, what we're doing this month, 2 episodes ago, the confessional was what movie or show traumatized you as a child. So for all of October, or for most of it anyway, we're picking as our classic features the movies that we picked that traumatized us as children. So that's where this initial classic feature for October comes from. Beware the Blob, because it was my pick as a very frightening film for a 6, 7, 8-year-old watching it on TV back in the 70s. So what this is, it's the sequel to the original Blob, made in 1972, directed by Larry Hagman, Jr., from Dallas a little bit later on in his career. And it stars quite a few of Larry's Hollywood friends, including Burgess Meredith,
I was surprised to see him in there.
Yes, famous.
Because it really is nothing more than a glorified cameo.
No, they just literally Burgess Meredith was Larry Hagman's neighbor in Hollywood.
Oh, really?
Went next door and got him to film on this ranch that also was set up in the area. Yeah. So then we've got Cindy Williams, who is Shirley from Laverne and Shirley. She's in it briefly.
This was pre-Laverne and Shirley, though, right? 72, easily.
It was the same year or the year before American Graffiti came out, which was also heavily featured Cindy.
Yeah.
We've got Carol Lindley, who is quite a bit of a genre princess herself, who appeared in The Shuttered Room, the original Night Stalker TV movie, The Poseidon Adventure, Night Gallery, as well as a myriad of Love Boat, Fantasy Island, blah, 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 that type of thing. So we've got Daniel Goldman, who later on did the voice of Brainy Smurf.
Oh, really? I don't.
He's the bearded hippie in this.
Well, sir, essentially, there's an emergency, and we've been trying to get these guys to come down because people are freaking out.
And he was also the guy in the beginning of Young Frankenstein in the classroom who asks Gene Wilder, "Isn't your name Frankenstein?" And it's got Larry Hagman himself as a hobo doing a cameo in the same scene as Burgess Meredith.
He was like a simpleton, though. He was
such a simpleton. He did such a bad job of playing that I think Sling Blade fans are offended everywhere.
Oh, some people call it a concert blade. I call it a sling blade.
So this is a really bizarre movie, especially seeing it as an adult. Like,
wait, you missed Dick Van Patten.
Yes, Dick Van Patten.
He must have been hopped up on freaking goofballs or smoking some of that weed that he was showing off to those.
He plays the Boy Scout master.
Oh my God, he is so wound up.
Who leads the kids to their what appears to be their certain doom. And
oh yeah, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Yes,
he dies. We just don't see it.
We see the aftermath of that. Right. But yeah, so apparently what happens is a plot setup is very simple. We've got somebody coming back from a pipeline work in Alaska because the original Blob, after it's frozen at the end of the original Blob movie, the government has no other means of disposing of it than dumping it into the Arctic. Because I remember at the end of the original Blob, you see a helicopter dropping it off into the ocean. And then the end credits and a big question mark. It's like, you can't keep that in a freezer somewhere in a government lab. You've got to put it in the ocean.
And didn't they freeze it the exact same way in an ice skating rink?
How did they freeze it? No, it was in a diner, I think, at the end of the first one. It was covering a diner, and I don't remember how they froze it.
How the hell did they freeze it in the diner? I remember the scene in the movie theater where it was coming through the ducts.
Yes. But yeah, I don't remember. But anyway, the setup of this movie is we've got somebody coming back from the pipeline. Chester.
And beer swilling.
Played by Godfrey Cambridge, who apparently was a sitcom star back in those days. So a lot of familiar faces for TV and movie viewers in the 70s.
Yeah.
So he's got a little sample of this blob in his freezer, and he's taking it back from Alaska or whatever. And he's more concerned with filling up a flower pot with beer than the actual sample that's
he had a serious drinking issue going on there.
On his kitchen counter.
Right.
So the blob pops out of this little freezer canister after they take it out of the freezer and put it on the counter, eats a fly, eats a poor defenseless
kitten. That kitten opened up the whole movie, that whole little kitten in the field.
And I love the splat that the blob makes as it flops off the counter.
And the cat just kind of like looks at it. It's like, how many takes do you think that took?
Yeah, I know.
The cat not to run away
So then the blob from there, eats Chester, eats his wife.
Eats the wife, he eats Chester. And I can't believe that this thing wasn't drunk off its ass after eating Chester, because he was just down in beers left and right. It was like a Coors Light commercial going on there.
And then from there, it goes on to decimate the town that it's in. We never really find out where it is, but it's a very bizarre early 70s kind of Scooby-Doo episode, pretty much like the first Blob was, where it's all the kids that know about the blob, but the man...
Once again, the adults don't listen to what the kids have to say.
The man just don't want to listen to the kids.
No.
He's not having any of it.
Go back to Chester for 1 second, which was cool, because at one point he's watching TV, and it's the original Blob.
Yes.
So how meta was that? If you just stayed, you would have known exactly what to do, Chester.
Exactly, yeah.
So Jim, you talk about this like freaking you out as a kid because it was like real world. This thing was like, there's a point where Chester's he's fixing his TV and he goes to sit down and it does it like numerous times. The thing is in the house, it's behind his chair, and there's a point where it kind of comes up and you just see like a little blobby tendril just about to hit his buttocks, and he's in for it. And you said that really kind of freaked you out as a kid because it was like we all sit in a chair. And it's like,
yes.
It was inside his house. He wasn't like in the Arctic or anything. He wasn't like on expedition.
Yeah.
So we need to delve a little bit into that because
I think that is what did it for me. The real worldness of it, the bizarre electronic music that they used, which kind of in turns goes from goofy to horror to that. And every time the Blob appears, there's like a flatline kind of a sound.
Yeah, that's pre-Jaws too, man. That's John
Every
Williams
time,
is like, that works.
So that thing, watching this movie now, it was like PTSD. Every time I heard that sound, it was like, I can't look at a drain anymore.
Well, let me ask you this:
Blob coming through it.
Do the letters JELLO instill fear in you?
Somewhat. If it's red Jello, yes.
Oh, have you ever quivered in fear at Thanksgiving when the cranberry sauce comes out?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I have.
As a child, did you ever lose control of your bowels when coming across a chewing piece of juicy fruit gum?
No, I won't
How do you
go that
feel
far.
about strawberry pudding? Sigmund Freud here. We are getting to the bottom of this. So yeah, it's fun.
It's a fun movie though. It really is a fun movie.
It's definitely a product of its time.
Yes, it just seems to take place. It's outside of time and space. You can't think of when it's like a living cartoon. It's like an episode of Scooby-Doo come to life because like, did people dress like this? Did they talk like this ever?
Yeah. I mean, so
70s?
Bobby, who was the star, I guess it was his birthday. They were having a big birthday party for him. And was it Lori? What was the girl's name? Lisa, and she's the one who comes across Chester. So now she's hell-bent on finding Bobby to go and report this to the cops or whatever. Bobby spends the entire movie just trying to get into her Calvin Kleins. Like, he really doesn't care that people are dying.
And he's overly preoccupied with eating an avocado sandwich for some reason.
He did bring that up. What's that? You don't feel better? You don't feel bad? You just saw somebody die? I'll make you an avocado sandwich.
Without bacon.
And that was that's Robert Walker Jr., who, if anyone's a Star Trek fan, he was Charlie X on one of the episodes.
On his resume, that was probably the most standout job that he's had.
Except he had like Patrick Duffy hair for 70s. The sheriff was also on an episode of Star Trek.
Yeah, talk about that sheriff. A better personification of the man, I don't think you can find for that guy, unless you got John Wayne.
No, Chester is dead, and I don't even know what happened to Marion, and there's this thing, and it eats people!
Maybe you two kids are on a trip or something I don't know, and I don't care.
I'm not tripping out!
Yeah, basically. Lisa needed new friends, though, because they were all
Yeah, they were. Nobody took her seriously. They were all like trying to scare her. Once she's all freaked out, she can make it to the party. They're all laughing at her. They're
smoking hippies. They didn't care.
But taking off from the real world aspect of this, like not only was it in the beginning in the easy chair, as we were just discussing, but you have a scene in the barber shop where a stoned out hippie comes in to get his hair cut. Nobody else is in the barbershop. It's, he's about to close up. And of course they're joking. There's some funny dialogue going between them. The barber soaps up the hippie, puts his head back into a sink full of blob.
We'll have to moisten you a little bit. You're not afraid of water, are you?
No,
We'll get all of this awful foamy stuff off your head, and then I'll go to work with my mallet and chisel.
And that's probably the most indelible image for me as a kid. I've never forgotten that.
Is that why you don't have hair? So you don't have to wash it?
Yeah, no, it's true.
Jim is like, never again.
I do my own haircuts, yeah.
Nice. Well, can we just talk about that scene for a minute? Because it is hands down the most disturbing scene I've ever come across in a movie. The dialogue is horrific. So this kid comes in, he's a hippie. And so what I read was that there's a point where they abandoned the script on this, and that
it's mostly ad-libbed.
They ad-libbed it. It is so disturbing because the guy, the barber, is just a creep. And he's like, I want a haircut. I don't cut hair. I'm an artist. I sculpt. Oh, yeah, man. Well, how much? $400. So the kid pulls out cash or whatever, and he really shouldn't be allowed within the 500 feet of a school zone. Because as he's soaping the kid up, he's like, "Oh, we have to moisten you a little bit." Ah, the kid's moaning. "Yes, you are dirty. I think you're purring." Ooh, he goes, "You do groan a lot." And I'm like, what the it turned into like gay porn. It was so uncomfortable. I had to leave the room.
And that was before the Blob makes an appearance.
Correct. Right. That was all said.
So maybe it was that traumatized me and not the actual Blob.
The Blob saved that kid because he was about to that was something else.
Yeah. And then Cindy Williams gets it in the storm drain along with Sid Haig. Right. Sid Haig plays the cop that gets it, who's known from House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects.
No? Okay.
So there you go. So Cindy gets it. And then at the end, the big finale is in the bowling alley. So all these places that I frequented as a kid.
That does make sense. I did like the kid who wore the gorilla costume was driving around in the buggy. I'm like, that's like a cartoon just waiting to happen.
It is.
Buggy being driven by a gorilla. I'm like, I would watch that, and they could just solve crimes. That's like one step removed from Scooby.
And whenever the guy answers the phone, he just
right, exactly. He's jumping around gas station. Do you know that bowling alley was used as an exterior in Pulp Fiction?
I did know that, and it's owned by Disney now. I think it's.
Oh, really?
I was gonna say, if you could visit the bowling alley today, it was called Grand Central Bowl, set up, and what you see in the movie is what the bowling alley was. There was a coffee shop in the front of the place, which is where the police enter.
Which are the worst police in the world.
The worst police in the world.
He walks in, he's like, "What is that? What do you mean, what is that?" You're told there was an alien in there.
So in the movie, the bowling alley and an ice skating rink are kind of intertwined, but they're actually two separate buildings in reality, which don't exist anymore. So anybody listening to this and wants to visit the original locations, you're not going to be able to.
And there was an ice skating rink.
Yes, the ice skating
rink. That was closed, but somehow worked.
Instantaneously.
Yes.
So at the end of the movie, the kids, everybody converges on this bowling alley because there's a big tournament going on, and as does the Blob. And the Blob first comes out from the back of the bowling alley through some heating ducts, and there's two guys that are trying to fix one of the lanes. The Blob gets them, and it comes out en masse through all the lanes, and it must be a miniature that they do and just have Jell-O coming through it. It's a very nice effect, even watching it today, I think. And then the Blob just proceeds to eat everybody in the bowling alley, goes over to the ice skating rink where our two heroes and one jerk, are caught in the announcer's booth. And that's when they figure out that they can get it with cold, when they freeze the Blob at the end. Not before Bobby makes a Tarzan kind of a escape from the announcer's booth, climbing the ropes over the Blob to make it to the switch to turn on the ice skating rink, and then freezes it at the end of it.
And he did all of his own stunts.
So there you go. So what did you guys think of this?
I enjoed it. I thought it was
watching this again, I was like, this is the kind of movie that we should be doing on this show. It's just a fun movie.
I would have to disagree.
I was waiting for that.
Yes.
Right.
Did you make it all the way through, Mike?
I did make it all the way through.
You did.
And I read this on the internet where they re-released it in 1982 under the tagline of the film that JR shot.
Oh, yes, I did see that. Yeah, because they were riding high on the Hagman Dallas episode.
And in some circles, it's known as Son of Blob rather than Beware the Blob.
Ah.
I think I like Beware the Blob. I think I like Beware the Blob better.
It was a long time because the first one was 58. So that's a long time before, especially back in those days when they had a bit of a hit on their hands, you would just ride the wave and make numerous versions of that movie.
Right. And apparently a sequel was planned. It does end kind of open-endedly where...
stupidly, they freeze it and then immediately put hot lights on it.
Yeah, a news crew comes out to film the sheriff who's...
he went full on Captain Morgan.
Yes, with one leg up on one of the humps of frozen blob. Yeah. And then, of course, the lights melt out a little section. It pours down into his shoe. As the kid, as the Boy Scout, can I have my lighter? Can I have my lighter
back?
So, yes, that was another, it wasn't a happy ending, I think.
No, he just looks up at the camera, he goes, what? And it just cuts to question mark. Good old Blob.
Just in its defense as well. It was nominated in 1975, 3 years after the fact, which is bizarre, but nominated for an Academy of Sci-Fi, Fantasy, and Horror Award for Best Sci-Fi Film.
Really?
It lost out to Soylent Green.
Oh, which
But
deservedly so.
Deservedly so.
Some of the other nominees, the original Westworld, Battle for the Planet of the Apes, which was the last of the Planet of the Apes original series, and
that movie. I should have chosen that movie.
You should have.
That freaked me out as a kid.
That's Dirk Benedict as
Dirk Benedict. It was on not that long ago, and I caught the tail end of it. I always thought it was called Hiss.
No, it's just.
I remember seeing that on TV.
Maybe we should do that one instead.
Where people just like turn into
Werewolf.
snakes. Yeah, and I didn't realize that was Dirk Benedict.
But there you go. So it was nominated for Best Sci-Fi Film of 1975 when it actually came out.
It came out in 72.
Yeah.
Did they re-release it? No, not in 75.
No,
that's
because
weird.
If you think about it, Soylent Green was 73, Westworld was 73.
They had to wait a couple years for there's enough nominees to actually.
Yeah, maybe this was the first award show, and they had to go back a few years. Yeah,
those were all good movies.
Yeah,
this one.
So that this won out is kind of interesting. Especially
that is its claim to fame. I don't know what the box office was. It was just released to drive-ins as a co-feature with Equinox, which I don't remember at all.
Equinox?
Summer of 72. It was originally intended for release December of 71, but they wanted to capitalize on the drive-in summer audience. So there you go. So does this deserve buckets, Mike, from you?
Maybe I watched these in the wrong order, because I watched Venom and then I watched Beware the Blob. And I think if I watched Beware the Blob first, I probably would have given Venom 5 buckets because I would have been so starved, for something that's good.
Oh, no. So are we going limpet level? Limpet level 0?
No, limpet's in its own category.
So how many buckets? You're keeping us in suspense.
Right, I know, right?
I'm going to go 1.
One bucket, okay.
I know Jim's going to go high. I got to go at least 3. It's on par with Venom as far as.
Yeah, I'm going to go 3 as well. I'm going to go 3 as well, just for its personal connection to me. But can you guys see how it would freak out a little kid?
Absolutely. And it's funny because you brought that up beforehand. So as I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, that's that scene. I wonder if Jim's hiding behind the couch right now.
I felt like it. My heart was going every time those scenes.
It's amazing.
Noise, every time
it is so amazing as a kid what sticks with you, and it doesn't matter how old we get and how mature we get. Like there's points where you watch a movie or a song even. And it just takes you back to that moment. Yeah, so that's
it does.
There's some deep-rooted issues going on there, Jim.
Yeah, this completely does. And it just in the context of its time, in the 70s, really, to a kid, anything was possible. Like you would see this on WOR Channel 9 in the New York area on a Saturday afternoon, and it would be followed immediately by In Search Of, which is just as bizarre.
Yeah,
because
but it was all real. Yeah.
Yeah. So because you didn't have the preponderance of social media then. There are no cell phones. You only had the 4 o'clock news, 6 o'clock news. So Bigfoot was a possibility. Flying saucers were a possibility,
Yeah.
So everything was more mysterious back then. And I think that's why these things affected me as they did.
But I agree with you because I love monster movies. But, I mean, like big, giant, over-the-top Godzilla, King Kong, because they were so fantastic. But don't give me Frankenstein, don't give me Werewolf, don't give me Dracula, because they're too close to being real. That was a little too much for me. So I agree. I understand completely.
Yeah. And I don't know if my parents remember, but this gave me many sleepless nights, this movie. And yet, as I pointed out last week, every time it was on, I had to watch it. I had to watch it.
Yeah, your mom actually called us. She was very mad that you watch it this time, too, because you keep waking her up at night. Mom!
At one point, they were going to ban all monster movies. I was like, no, you don't. No, just like you're saying, you don't understand. You don't understand. Godzilla, I can take.
I can control myself.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there you go. I would, three buckets for me.
Okay, I agree.
3 buckets. Oh, confessional.
Confessionals.
We do have
I was just about to gloss over our confessional.
You're going to go right over it.
So this week we had a couple of different options for a confessional question, but we ended up on something that really was inspired by Venom. So
yeah, we were on the fence. Mike actually plied me with alcohol, so I changed my mind to his choice. Sorry, Jim.
So Jeff, let us know what the confessional.
So the confessional. So basically, riding on Venom's coattails, which Marvel villain deserves his own movie besides Venom? Obviously, we know that DC is going down the road with not 1 but 2 Joker movies. We've got tons of superheroes or whatever, and is there a villain out there who deserves his own movie, and why? So obviously, there's some obvious choices. There's some very obvious choices. If you're like a cursory fan of Marvel, We all know Doctor Doom. We all know Magneto. Although every X-Men movie is basically a Magneto movie, so there's no way whatsoever that he deserves his own flick at this point.
It's true. He steals every movie that he's in.
Absolutely. It's straight up the Xavier and Magneto, buddy films. I don't know. Do you want to go first? Mike, you want to go first? You're the comic guy.
You know what? I mean, I didn't take, there were obvious ones, obviously, as you say, sort of Doctor Doom, Galactus, etc.
Yep.
And I was like, why go that route? So I didn't pick one. I picked a group, and that's the Hellfire Club.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
So that's your...
Interesting.
Yeah, that's your Sebastian Shaw, your Emma Frost, your Harry Leland.
Yeah.
Jason Weingart is Mastermind, Donald Pierce. So... I thought that might make an interesting story.
I like that choice because that's basic. Yeah, so basically you have a superhero bad guy group, little secret society, the old turn of the century wardrobe and whatnot. If anybody's not familiar with the Hellfire Club, they came out of the X-Men early run with John Byrne, correct? Isn't that right?
That is correct. It's a Chris Claremont, John Byrne, and it seems almost plausible in a way. I kind of like the genre it's set in. As you say, they're sort of coming out of the 19th century tradition, and they in this Hellfire Club, and I just feel like there's some potential there.
I agree. I like that choice a lot. And of course, Emma Frost has gone on, and she's now actually a member of X-Men.
Yes, she is.
Was she married to Cyclops? I know she was dating him at one point.
I think just dating.
Oh, okay. She's just keeping it casual. But her powers were different back then. Now she can turn into diamond or she can change her skin tone. I don't remember. I don't think that's what her powers were originally.
Her original powers were a diamond.
Oh, it was?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Then I okay. I like that choice. I like it.
Solid choice.
Yeah.
So can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. My choice was kind of informed by Venom. Because I was thinking of what kind of not just villain that I'd want to see on screen, but what kind of a villain could be sympathetic and that maybe be a good guy as well as a bad guy, like that an audience could actually root for throughout the movie.
The anti-hero.
And I also made me think about my favorite Spidey villains other than Venom. And I thought Man-Wolf, Morbius, the living vampire, and they're not sympathetic characters. So my all-time Spidey favorite villain has always been the Lizard, Kurt Connors.
Okay.
And it's a real Jekyll and Hyde story, and I think they did him a real disservice in the original Amazing Spider-Man.
You didn't like his treatment, huh?
I did not like his treatment. I did not like his look. It was just a big disappointment to me. And I think if they did a standalone Lizard movie like they did Venom, and especially if they did it like the original Lizard in terms of design, that I would be all aboard for that. Like a horror movie, I think it could play out as. And it didn't. And it doesn't need Spider-Man. We know from this Venom thing that he doesn't necessarily need Spider-Man.
You can tie him in later.
Yeah,
I'd go see that. I would go see that. Yeah, I'm with you on this, Jim. Interesting enough character, Jekyll and Hyde. Yeah, I'd go.
Yeah. So that's almost like what Gotham is now, which is it's all bad guy development, and Batman's kind of off on the sidelines as a kid still. So yeah, you could easily bring him in, make him your star. I like it. So I'm going to go a little more galactic. I'm not going Galactus because, as Mike said, it's a little too obvious, I guess. So it looks like Phase 3 of Marvel is going a little more celestial. We've got the Eternals in development, obviously Guardians of the Galaxy, if that ever gets off the ground. So I'm going to go with a really cool-looking guy, Fin Fang Foom, who is a giant lizard dragon looking guy. I couldn't tell you his backstory. I couldn't tell you his history. And I think he fought the Hulk a lot.
He was a big Iron Man villain, and he was on one of our TMI commercials.
Oh, Fin Fang Foom, that's right. And Dave, what do you got there?
I said Fin Fang who?
Foom.
I know. It was from the commercial.
So anyways, Fin Fang Foom. I thought he would be cool to look at and cool to root for.
So Dave, do you have any input on this one?
I mean, it's funny because I was listening to you guys talk about it, and then I was thinking, like, I was never big into the whole comic book thing, and when the MCU universe started with the movies in my time, if you will. No offense to anybody that's older than me, but and I even think he's getting this villain is getting his own Netflix series. I heard from Disney, and that happened to be Loki. And I just, would you even consider him a villain, I guess, in a way? In the first few movies, yes, he was always on the opposite side of Thor. But I really enjoyed his character as a villain. And I guess you could even say the same thing with Thanos as well. You know what I mean? It's
I definitely know what you mean.
And both of those are cool choices in the sense that most bad guys don't believe that they're bad guys. They're doing whatever they're doing for what they believe is a noble cause, or at least, so Thanos, obviously.
Yeah. Right. It's funny that you should say that, because those are my two favorite characters of the MCU at the moment are Loki and Thanos.
Oh, yeah.
You're a sick man.
And, I'm not sure, like I said, if you guys heard, but I think Disney is coming out with a Netflix series that's going to be based around Loki.
I wonder if it's got Tom Hiddleston in it.
It does.
I believe it is supposed to, yeah.
Oh, this is great. This is
really
great news.
So he survived. So he survived, or is this all back?
There's still rumors going around about that one.
Yeah, so there's actually, I read this on the internet, which was when Loki attacks Thanos, he's got a dagger in his left hand. But normally when he attacks with the dagger in his right hand. So was that a projection?
Right, so there was speculation saying that he was somebody else.
I guess we'll have to wait and find out.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Good choices.
I like the choice. That's fantastic.
So Dave, before we go,
totally looking forward to that one.
Can you do in the TMI voice? Can you please do for us your TMI? I can't even do it.
Why you gotta put me on the spot like this?
Because it's really like you've never left the show, because we still have your bumpers, we still have your voice to introduce the confessional. So you're really always the fourth member of the show. This is just your involvement is just a little bit more in this show than normal.
Okay, hold on. Okay, you ready?
Ready.
Is everybody ready?
Yep.
TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind.
Welcome back, Dave.
Welcome back.
If that's not even modulated, that's pretty good.
All right, thank you.
So what are we doing next week? Is this
next week? You said October 12th, so we are doing Bad Times at the El Royale.
Okay, so you're well prepared for this.
We are. Mike and I are. Yeah. This may be the closest I've been to actually being prepared long before.
What we're pairing this one with is kind of a departure from our normal October traumatization movies.
Yeah,
so
we need a week to kind of recoup.
So we thought that this would be a good match for the El Royale, which is Cabin in the Woods.
Which is, they're both directed by Drew Goddard.
So there you go.
I'm looking forward to it.
It was on TV last night, Sci-Fi Channel. Cool, I'm ready. Let's go.
So there you go. Let's go have an avocado sandwich and call this one done.
Beware the blob.
Oh, yeah.
Do you believe me?
Hey, let's go to your place and have an avocado sandwich, huh? On whole wheat bread with alfalfa sprouts and Monterey Jack cheese.
Bobby.
And no bacon.